Welcome to the next unit of F360, Indiana Folklore and Folk Life. In this unit, we talk about bowl makers in Indiana as we continue our conversation about tradition, revival, and revitalization. Bowl making is both old and new, traditional and innovative. Wood turning, while an ancient craft, has flourished since World War II, especially in the making of vessels, basically turned vases and bowls. This craft is popular in the wood-rich region in the western edge of our state. Several years ago, I conducted a survey of traditional arts in the area and talked with a few turners. We'll talk about them in a bit more detail when I discuss folklore fieldwork. However, now I want to turn our attention to a different kind of bowl making that happens in that same region. This is an older tradition of making bowls and a newer one. It requires the chopping out of excess wood with a tool called a bowl adze, which is a kind of curved hatchet-like tool where the blade is turned sideways. After looking at an antique bowl that his wife had bought, Bill Day decided to make one himself. He said, "I was curious about how they chopped them out, but no one knew anything, so I just started chopping. When you work on a farm, you have to figure out how to do things yourself." Through trial and error, he learned the old forgotten craft, which would become his retirement career. In his chop shop, as he called it, a small brick storefront in downtown West Lebanon, Indiana, Bill hewed bowls out of cherry, tulip poplar, and sassafras wood. He demonstrated annually at the Indiana State Fair and even took his revived craft to Washington, D.C., where his art was showcased at the Smithsonian. He soon became a master bowl hewer and freely shared his knowledge and techniques with others. Bill explained, "I've taught lots of people. I don't charge them. Other craftsmen tell me I'm silly for not showing them the things that took me years to learn. But if I can help someone get started and they enjoy it as much as I do, maybe I've accomplished something in my life." Tragically, Bill was killed in a tractor accident in 1999 while working on his small Fountain County farm. His legacy, however, continues through the work of the many bowl hewers he taught over the years, including Glenn Summers of Park County and Keith Rubel of Vigo County. Fourth-generation woodworker Glenn Summers discovered bowl hewing while watching Bill Day's demonstration at the 1982 Indiana State Fair. He describes, "Bill became a kind of icon at the State Fair. I saw him making bowls. I was pretty intrigued by that. And I sat and I watched him all day, really, all day. Sat by his side and just watched him and talked to him. Shortly after that, I started doing it myself." For decades now, Glenn has made bowls and demonstrated the craft he learned from Bill at area museums and events. The bowls Glenn makes, however, are flat and rustic, artfully highlighting the knots and imperfections in the wood, split out with a froe, and chopped out with a hand adze, and then smoothed with a spoke shave. Glenn reflects on the legacy of Bill Day. He notes that there was a kind of renaissance of bowl making that came from Bill because of all the people that saw him. And then those people trained other people, and we've had workshops training other people to make bowls. So now there's quite a few makers in Indiana. Then there's Keith Rubel. Keith is perhaps the leader of that renaissance of bowl making that came from Bill. Keith met the elder bowl maker at the Indiana State Fair in the 1970s while Keith was building a log cabin on site. From Bill and Keith's shared passion for wood, the two developed a lifelong friendship and often taught each other woodworking techniques. Today, Keith hews a variety of bowl shapes, from traditional rectangles and ovals to special ones shaped like animals and even the state of Indiana. In many ways, Keith has perfected the craft that he picked up from his old friend all those years ago. Keith's bowls are lighter, thinner, and the decorative hewing marks of the adze are deeper and cleaner. After Bill's death, Keith took over demonstrating bowl hewing at the state fair. In addition, he's taught the trade to both of his sons, who share his passion for wood. Finally, Indiana's bowl hewing reflects the dynamic process of tradition, revival, and revitalization as the cyclical process that it is. So Bill Day sees this bowl, is intrigued by its form and nature, and decides to make one himself. He enjoys the process and soon opens a workshop where he can make, show, and sell his bowls. This is the revival stage. Something that had fallen out of practice is picked up and made new again. The process of tradition is the transmission of cultural knowledge. But each of Bill's students had to make the craft their own, bringing their own background and skills to the tradition. Glenn's bowls and Keith's bowls don't look anything alike. Keith's son's bowls are similar to his, but they're distinctive as well. Once those students that Bill took on students of their own, the tradition starts to flourish. The craft has been revitalized. At this point, Bill's knowledge has passed to the fourth and fifth generation of bowl makers. Moreover, there's emerged a codified and distinctive aesthetic form. In the past, folklorists often thought of folk traditions as unbroken, as if something physical was passed from one generation to the next like a family heirloom. But in reality, tradition is a construct, rooted in the past, constructed in the present, with hopes and aspirations for the future. In fact, tradition is a complex and dynamic system of cultural transmission that hinges on access to people, artifacts, interest, skill, and time. And it's always amazing to me how these creative practices meander in and out of time, touching people and then igniting a whole new movement. So that's my rant about Indiana bowl cueing. But the main thing I want you to get from this is not necessarily about bowls, but about thinking through this idea of what it means to be traditional. The idea that all tradition is revival, and all revival hopes for revitalization.